the knowledge that you have, the knowledge that you can gain is at such a level that doesn't matter what car you have. If you are into this, you have this knowledge, you can build a car from 0 to 100% in no time. Starting off with the cops, if you talk about those are the funny incidences that I've had in my life. Is I walk into Sharjah every day. Okay, so every day after work I'm heading out somewhere close to 10 or 11. Usually I take the highways, but that one day is when I thought that okay, I'm not going to get a lot of traffic. I might just go from the Gisses side, grab a burger and get back home. That's when I realized that okay, there are cops that's standing in the front, and I shouldn't get caught because the car isn't that loud. So I go to that side. The cop is chasing me from the back. Wouldn't say chasing, just following me. And then after like 10 to 15 minutes of the same thing happening, he pulls me over. He opens the hood. He sees nothing is there. He's all good. Then he turns around. He tells me to rev the car. I rev the car. He doesn't get any sound. Then he turns around. He looks inside the car. There's nothing. And that's when you realize that, see, I have to give him a fine because the car is not sounding like a V6. It's sounding something more than a V6. And there is something that he's done to his car. He just can't see it. It was just a mid-muffler delete. Obviously, you couldn't see it because it was way below. The ground clearance is close to like, what, 10 centimeters, 15? So he goes towards the back of the car. He looks at there was just the tips, the silver tips that I had changed to black color tips only because it looked good. He looks at the tip. He's like, no. This car does not have black tips, it has silver tips. Puts a torch, couldn't see jack shit, and that's when he realizes that okay, I've done so much, I've roamed around the car, I have to give him a fine. So he comes to me and he tells me that, listen bro, I'm giving you a fine because your car sounds very loud. I'm like, it's not sounding loud because this is how I've got the car, this is how it is. Then he comes to me and he's like, listen, I'm giving you two options. Either you take a fine for the sound that you have on the car, or you take the fine for the louvers that you've put on the back mirror. I was like, what? Why is that really necessary? Then he goes like, yes, either do this or this. So I like, okay, just give me the fine on the exhaust and I'll walk away. So he gives me a fine on this and he tells me that, listen, I'm not giving you a fine on the louvers only because I like your name. I was like, okay, fine, okay, good. Good for me, thank you so much. And he's like, you're most welcome. And I just walk away with the car and I'm just thinking that this was a shitty fine that I've got for absolutely no reason. If you talk about a dream car, I would say the Mclaren P1 is the car that I want to go ahead with. Cars, the hypercars they've been built in such a way that there's hardly more power that you want to put into it. It's like it already has a 700-800 horsepower. What more do you want on a road on Dubai? It's like you put your pedal down and you're at 180, 190 within a blink of an eye. And if you talk about it, if you go to your drag strips, okay, you go to your places where you can actually test out your car to the maximum potential, I think these cars are just built in a way that you don't want to do anything to them. They're like, the way they're built is perfectly fine. Now, if you're talking about a car that I want in the span of 5 to 10 years, obviously I would go for the Cobra, or if you call it the 350R of a Mustang. This is the one that I really want to go ahead with, and the reason why is because these cars are easily available in countries like Dubai, UAE, all these countries. It's easily available. But if you go to a country like India, that's a place that you cannot do that. You take this car, the next moment you know you're in a pothole stuck with your Mustang. And if you're talking about building up a car, I would say that even the smallest car, even like a Nissan Altima, can be built in such a way that it can be faster than a Porsche. There is this video that's very famous with this guy in an Altima beats a Porsche 911. So you know that the knowledge that you have, the knowledge that you can gain is at such a level that doesn't matter what car you have. If you are into this, you have this knowledge, you can build a car from 0 to 100% in no time. Of course, having that much amount of money, that would be one of it. with the three wide options that you have available in the countries would be your muscle, your JDM, and your German cars. Obviously, me owning a Mustang any day would go with a muscle car, is because the raw sound that the car creates, it's like music to people who love muscle. For me, it's like every morning I wake up, have a cold start, and that's when I start loving the car and I want to do something more to it. The reasons why I wouldn't go for a JDM or for a German one is, if you're talking about German, you know for a fact these cars, they fall into a lot of trouble. One thing goes out and the rest of the car is shot and it's done. For example, an Audi, a friend of mine, she had an Audi, and only issue was her petrol line, the fuel pump that she had was a little screwed up. The car stopped to function. All these signs, the engine light came on, everything came on, and the car had to be towed away to the shop. They checked the entire car, they kept it for 2 days, checked the entire car. They found that it's just a fuel pump that had to be replaced. But the amount of problems that the same person went through without having the car is something that I'm not ready for. If you're talking about JDM, I wouldn't really say that I don't want to go with that car, but since I have a muscle, I would always go for a muscle. With the JDM, it's like super light. You can do a lot of things to the car, but at the same time, you don't have that sound. The sound that gets the smile on my face every morning is in a muscle. That's why I always go for a muscle rather than a JDM or a German car. So there's one good day. I was just chilling at this tea spot, the Kukal Shai, the famous spot where everyone comes to chill. So I'm chilling there, and I see a couple of friends of mine who are from school, and we just meet up. And then this guy, he was a lot, he was into cars and stuff. And then he's like, Murtuzza, do you want to race this guy? He has a Infiniti G35 or something like this. He just told me, and like, I just looked at the car. I'm like, it's a sedan, it's a heavy car. Ideally, I should win. Why not? Just go with the race. So I tell this guy, okay, let's go fix up the race. And we started having the small race on a kilometer road. And we start off. I was in all sports mode, first gear, all ready to, just slam the pedal and just run. And then all of a sudden I see, the moment this race starts, this guy's car just flew. And it was at such a distance. I was just looking, and I was looking at my car. Is there something wrong with my car? Did I just miss shift or something? Did I not put it in sports? Is something wrong in the car? It's not running. What happened? Then I'm looking at the petrol. Okay, maybe it's just because there's a lot of weight in my car. It's the reason why it's not moving around. Then I just pull up to this guy and like, listen, we'll have another round. Because I was just into a shock. How can this sedan car beat my ass? So I go to him, I'm like, let's have another round. We get to other round, and he's like, okay, on the start 1, 2, 3, we just go. I'm like, okay, fine, cool. So I'm looking at my gear, I'm looking at the sports mode on, I'm looking at the road, it's all clear. I can just put the pedal down and I'll go fast. Again, the same thing happens. This guy, he puts his foot down, his car just flies by me again. And I was so heartbroken that day. I was like, why did I spend so much money in getting this car when a G35 sedan car can beat my ass like this? That's also the initial days when I had got my car, and I had no idea about the mods, the tunes, the exhaust, the headers, the cat delete, and all these things actually existed. I had no idea. And that's when I told Vishnu that, listen, that this is something that's happened with me. And this Vishnu guy was like, it's all cool, it's just a tune, it's just a small couple of modifications that he's done to his car. Do it to yours going to be much faster, chill out. But no, I was heartbroken. That's when I actually started looking into all the performance mods that I could do. And yeah, that's when I started doing all of this. Got a couple of gains on my car, but I'm still looking for a lot more things that I can do to the car. And let's see when that turns out to be.